it would be a big win for Verhoeven if it is competitive. Verhoeven has more paths to victory. He can win the event in more different ways than Usyk because he doesn't have to technically win.
Also, too, when you're a guy that's so accomplished like Usyk, and then you're fighting a guy that is only his second pro fight, and he's doing a bunch of punching from weird angles. So it could be a little embarrassing because it's not the same. It's not the basic boxing style. Yeah, so you could probably get hit with weird shots that are coming from all crazy angles, him stepping off. So it could probably present complications for Usyk.
It's like the Ricardo Mayorga.
Yeah.
It's going to be Verhoeven's second professional boxing match. But guys, Verhoeven is 6'5", 270. And he is like the dominant champion in kickboxing. I used to watch kickboxing all the time. Growing up, if there was no boxing on TV way before the UFC, they'd like ESPN to have kickboxing on. I used to watch it, right? Chris, you have fought. Now look, it is not boxing, it's kickboxing. And I always wonder, at least when I was a kid, they used to have rules in kickboxing where if you didn't throw, I want to say 5 kicks around, they deduct a point. Which makes me think if it was an advantage to kick in that scenario, you wouldn't have to incentivize people to kick. Obviously, they felt it wasn't in some way, right? So it's not exactly boxing.
Max Kellerman has broken down the potential matchup between Oleksandr Usyk and Rico Verhoeven, analyzing whether the kickboxing champion can handle boxing's most complete heavyweight at the elite level.
He's undisputed at heavyweight. And you beat Fury twice, Joshua twice, Dubois twice. You are entitled to what we used to call an in-between fight as long as you're staying active. He's 38 years old, etc. So then the question becomes, in your in-between fight, is it something interesting? Right? If you're going to take a softer touch, is it something interesting? I find it just me as a human being, find it super interesting that he's fighting the undisputed kickboxing champion as, again, as something out of Rocky 3, right? In front of the pyramids. It's interesting.
Rico Verhoeven expressed confidence that his size and weight advantage could make a difference, suggesting his power would have a bigger impact if he connects cleanly against Oleksandr Usyk.
What are you going to do?
Knock his head off. That's what I'm going to do. I'm, like I said, I'm like 55 pounds heavier. So as soon as I hit him, it's going to be something different.
Meanwhile, Oleksandr Usyk stated that he views the matchup as a legitimate fight, acknowledging that Rico Verhoeven may not be a highly experienced boxer, but still considering it an enjoyable and entertaining bout without any issue.
For me, it's a real fight. Yes, Rico not a good boxer, but it's okay, fun fight, no problem.
Tony Bellew called a potential victory for Rico Verhoeven over Oleksandr Usyk a massive upset, highlighting Usyk's dominance over top heavyweights like Tyson Fury and Daniel Dubois. He added that Verhoeven's minimal boxing experience makes the task extremely difficult against an undefeated champion at his peak.
It would be the greatest shock boxing's ever seen. If Rico Verhoeven is to defeat Oleksandr Usyk, it will be the greatest victory in boxing history. Yes, it's a second professional fight on paper, but this is a guy whose second professional fight is against the undisputed unified former cruiserweight champion of the world, the current undisputed unified heavyweight champion of the world. He's undefeated. Nobody has been able to touch this guy. It's peak Oleksandr Usyk. He's just defeated a man who's 20 stone and 6'9" in Tyson Fury twice. He's just defeated a record machine in Daniel Dubois who was on the run of his life. This isn't a guy who's washed up having a comeback fight against somebody. This is a guy in his peak and in his prime. Put that into perspective. If Rico Verhoeven is to do this, it's off the Richter scale. This is bigger than Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson. That's how big this is. This would be the greatest shock in boxing history.
Tony viewed Rico Verhoeven as dangerous but untested in boxing, noting his limited experience despite kickboxing success. He contrasted this with Oleksandr Usyk, calling him highly intelligent and hard to solve in the ring. Bellew added that Verhoeven could trouble him early, but Usyk would likely adjust and take control after a few rounds.
Rico Verhoeven is a problem. He's a problem, and we don't actually know much about him from a boxing perspective, but we know nothing really. He's had one bout and you cannot take anything from that at all. His kickboxing experience tells you an awful lot. But at the same time, Oleksandr Usyk is the problem that no one can solve. He is the puzzle that no one can figure out. And I think the same will apply to Rico Verhoeven in a boxing ring with him. If this was a kickboxing match, I'm trying to tell you, Alexander's in an awful lot of trouble. Do not take a kick off him. Thankfully for Oleksandr Usyk, this is a boxing match. And I think once them first 3 or 4 rounds pass, and that awkwardness and stance and style Oleksandr Usyk figures out, I think Rico could be in for a hard night's work.
In contrast, Teddy Atlas assessed the matchup by heavily favoring Oleksandr Usyk, stating that the opponent's chances are extremely limited due to lack of elite boxing background. He analyzed the physical profile and experience level, noting that while the fighter has size and a decent right hand, his upright style and limited boxing pedigree make him vulnerable. Atlas concluded that Usyk's superior versatility, defense, and overall skill set would largely dictate the outcome of the fight.
A sanctioned title. At the end of the day, the most important part that I'll finish with is, what's his chances? What's Verhoeven's chances? I think slim and none, to be honest. I looked at film on him, and yeah, he's big. He's 6'6", 270. Fury was big too, but Fury was a professional boxer. This guy, as I said, he doesn't have that background. He stands straight up. He's had 76 fights. He's won 66. He's got 26 knockouts. He's not a huge puncher. You know, his best punch is the right hand. That can be effective against the southpaw. Usyk's a southpaw. That can be the southpaw killer. I get it. It's not going to be. Usyk's too versatile, too good for him. His defense, his offense. I think it's going to come down to where Usyk, you know, it's up to him.
Furthermore, Teddy Atlas emphasized that Oleksandr Usyk dictated the entire rhythm of the bout, effectively choosing whether to finish early or manage the fight from range. He also pointed out key defensive weaknesses in Rico Verhoeven, while noting that, unlike exhibition-style crossover events, this contest carried full heavyweight championship status.
If he wants to work with him and he wants to carry him, I don't know that anything that there was any agreement to that. I have no idea of that. But if it's going to be up to him, because what I've seen, like I just said, Verhoeven, he gets hit standing straight up. He's not easy to miss, to be honest. He's right in front of you. And it will just be, you know, it'll be Usyk's call, how he wants to go about. Does he want to go get rid of him, or does he want to box? And, you know, kind of enjoy the view a little bit. At the end of the day, what's different about this?
Adding to the discussion, Chris Arreola stated that whether an opponent comes from kickboxing or boxing, real fighting experience still matters because they understand what it feels like to get hit, including the added damage from kicks. He added that such fighters usually have solid toughness and durability, but still expected Oleksandr Usyk to be far too skilled, predicting the fight would likely end within the first few rounds.
Second of all, whether it's kickboxing or boxing, he still has a pedigree of fighting. He knows what it's like to get hit, and those kicks ain't no joke. I'd rather get punched than kicked.
Right.
So he must have a good chin or a good body work. So I'm looking forward just to see what Usyk could do against a lesser opponent. You probably should end up within 2 to 3 rounds.
Meanwhile, Mike Coppinger suggested that despite being 39, Oleksandr Usyk still appears to be operating at his peak, showing no visible decline in performance. He also pointed out that Usyk's recent physique looks noticeably more muscular and physically imposing, reinforcing the idea that he remains in elite condition at the highest level of boxing.
It's a good question. You know, it's funny, right? Even though Usyk's 39, I feel like he's at the top of his game.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any slippage at all. I feel like and if you see the photos, it looks like Usyk put on a lot of muscle. I mean, this guy looks like a tank right now.
In addition, Coppinger described the matchup as more of a showcase than a dangerous test, suggesting that Oleksandr Usyk has already done enough at heavyweight to justify taking a lighter, entertainment-focused fight. He added that Usyk has effectively cleared out the division, and while new contenders will always emerge, this bout is unlikely to pose a serious threat despite the opponent's striking background.
This is a spectacle, and Usyk, like Chris said, if anybody deserves a fight where they don't have to fight the very best, it's Usyk. He's going to take a fun fight. This isn't a wrestler. He's fighting a guy that knows how to stand up. No one's suggesting that Usyk's going to lose this fight. But Usyk has effectively cleaned out the heavyweight division. You know, obviously there's a Guy Caballel there who I'm a fan of, and Fabio Wardley, but there's always going to be new guys that come around.
However, Ariel Helwani expressed surprise at the level of disrespect shown toward Rico Verhoeven, clarifying that he is not suggesting Verhoeven would defeat Oleksandr Usyk. He emphasized that Usyk is widely regarded as arguably the best pound-for-pound fighter in boxing, the leading heavyweight of his era, an Olympic medalist, and a two-division world champion with an elite, unmatched resume, adding that it is unfair to speak about him in dismissive terms.
Because I've been blown away by the disrespect that has been shown to Rico Verhoeven. Am I sitting here and saying he's going to beat Oleksandr Usyk? No, of course I'm not saying that. Oleksandr Usyk is arguably the best fighter pound for pound in the world, certainly the best heavyweight of this generation. He's one of the greatest all-time fighters. He's an Olympic medalist. He's a two-division champion. His resume is unmatched. But they're talking about him like he's a total scrub.
Showbiz the Adult pointed out that Rico Verhoeven brings genuine finishing ability and elite-level striking experience from his kickboxing background. He also shifted attention to Oleksandr Usyk, noting that Usyk has shown curiosity about crossing over into different combat disciplines, which adds extra intrigue to this type of matchup.
I looked up Rico Verhoeven, and that guy is an absolute beast, to be honest. He's a tank. He's a wrecking machine, a knockout artist. The guy's a monster. But in kickboxing, not boxing. So why would Oleksandr Usyk do something like that? Well, if you know Oleksandr Usyk the way I do, the guy is just one of those warriors. He always admired martial arts and mixed martial arts, dressing up like a samurai and shit like that. Look at his training. His training is strange. And he said many times, him fighting an MMA guy or a karate guy or a kickboxer, that was something that he always desired. Hell, he called out Alex Pereira at one point.
Shane McGuigan suggested there are levels in combat sports, explaining that a kickboxer like Rico Verhoeven would naturally be at a disadvantage against a pure boxing specialist. He added that against a master-level boxer such as Oleksandr Usyk, Verhoeven would have very little chance in a boxing ring.
I feel like there's levels to this game. As a kickboxer, he's always going to be up against the guy who's a master at boxing. I don't think he's got a chance at all.
Responding to the mixed reactions, Luke Thomas observed that mixed martial arts audiences seemed more receptive to the crossover bout compared to many boxing purists. He added that the main controversy came from concerns over sanctioning bodies potentially fast-tracking Rico Verhoeven into a heavyweight title opportunity without a meaningful boxing record, raising questions about competitive legitimacy.
I don't have a strong reaction to it, but I have seen some strong reactions to it from two different groups. One, if you're on the MMA side of things, I tend to see a little bit more enthusiasm about this. I think most of the folks on the MMA side that I've seen, again, it's very anecdotal, I've not run research, they seem to like it quite a bit. On the boxing side, they're real unhappy. They don't like this one at all. So there's a big divide between the two. Why? Well, number one, as I just mentioned, the WBC title is up for grabs. These sanctioning bodies, bro, they're just so pathetic. Under what, by what reason would you ever grant Rico Verhoeven, by the way, this will be his second pro fight in boxing ever. He has one prior to this. A world title opportunity. It just makes no sense.
Turning his attention towards Rico Verhoeven, Luke Thomas highlighted his extensive combat sports resume and the level of competition he has faced throughout his kickboxing career, even noting he hasn't followed every stage of it closely. He also referenced Verhoeven's earlier interest in moving toward MMA, including links to the UFC, before eventually pivoting toward boxing. Overall, he suggested the bout with Oleksandr Usyk presents a major commercial opportunity for both fighters.
Rico, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I've been following closely his glory career. I've seen obviously some of the bigger fights he's been in, Badr Hari. Obviously he fought Errol Zimmerman. He's fought, I think, Benjamin Adegbui. He's fought some really big names up and down and has obviously an incredible career, but I can't pretend that I've been following it closely. 36 years old. What is interesting about this is that you'll recall the UFC wanted to sign him and he wanted to go box instead. Well, this is what that is. I don't know what the UFC offered him. Surely it cannot be what Turkey is offering him.
On the other hand, Moses Itama questioned the direction of Oleksandr Usyk's recent opponent selection, suggesting that priority should be given to mandatory contenders rather than crossover attractions like Rico Verhoeven. While he acknowledged Verhoeven's reputation and skill in kickboxing, he raised concerns about the fairness of sanctioning a high-level title opportunity without a traditional boxing build-up. Itahama added that championship pathways, in his view, should reward fighters progressing through the ranks rather than being shaped around commercial appeal.
I believe it's at 3 of the major belts, and like instead of fighting his mandatories or fighting people that I want to fight, he fights other people that, like for example, that Rico Verhoeven, which I am a big fan of his, by the way, but like, should he be able to fight for the WBC world title in his first ever professional fight? I don't think it's quote unquote right. So yeah, but obviously if he's got a chance to make X amount of money, then why not? But then I don't believe it should be for the titles, because there's people like obviously me, Ajit Cabello, Lawrence Okoli, Fabio, who are trying to get to that, and I guess Usyk is just kind of messing around.
Building on that, Kelvin Henderson reacted to the announcement of Oleksandr Usyk potentially facing Rico Verhoeven, noting that Verhoeven is a well-known figure in kickboxing, even if he is less familiar within boxing circles. He questioned how strongly the matchup would connect with US audiences, but still backed Usyk heavily based on his elite boxing ability, suggesting the bout could still generate significant global attention and financial interest.
Usyk just recently announced his next opponent, Rico Verhoeven, I guess. I don't know much about the guy, but apparently he's a huge kickboxing star, kickboxing champion. I'm not sure if it's a fight that Americans or the American entertainment value is going to really buy, but apparently he's a well-known name across the world in kickboxing. So we're going to see. I mean, it's hard for me to go against Usyk in this, man, just because Usyk is just a boxer. Maybe it's just a big PR money grab to afford the purse that Usyk is well deserved. But I don't know. Of course, I got to go with Usyk right now. What y'all think? Let me know.
To add to that, Liam Harrison suggested that in a crossover matchup, Rico Verhoeven would likely have to rely on kickboxing tools like leg attacks to create any real advantage, given how difficult it is to trouble elite boxers under boxing rules, particularly someone like Oleksandr Usyk. He also praised Verhoeven as a legend of kickboxing and noted that the fight would generate significant money and global attention.
Well, that'd be wild, wouldn't it? I think Rico's gonna have to boot him in leg or something. If he wants to get any sort of advantage over him, no one can beat Usyk in a boxing fight. I don't care who you are. No one on this place, he's the best heavyweight on this planet, and he's the best heavyweight of his era. If guys like Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua can't put a dent in him, no one's going to be able to put a dent in him, I'm afraid. So yeah, Rico will have to throw a few leg kicks if he wants to get one over on him there. But again, Rico's a legend of kickboxing. Guys like that who have paved the way in kickboxing and have been the goats of their generation, they deserve to get these paydays and these sort of chances to showcase what they can do and just to promote themselves and to get some big money and stuff. So yeah, it'd be nice to see, to be fair.
That's the breakdown, and at the end of the day, this matchup comes down to one question: pure boxing mastery versus crossover power and experience. Usyk's skill set is proven at the highest level, while Verhoeven brings danger, size, and a completely different background. No matter how you see it, this is the kind of fight that sparks debate across every combat sport fan. Now it's your turn. Who takes it if they step in the ring? Drop your pick in the comments. If you enjoyed the breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more boxing analysis.